With the Republican frontrunner, Donald Trump, who joins me live from Palm Beach, Florida. Mr. Trump, good morning and congratulations, sir.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me start with this idea of whether it is a three-way race. Do you believe the Republican nomination is a three-way race, or do you believe this is you on your way to getting the nomination?
Well, I think I have a big advantage, but it's certainly a three-person race, and you have a couple of other people that are very talented there too. So we have a five-man race, and I think that it's going to be, it's going to be not easy. I have a big advantage, but long way from being one.
Well, that's very humble of you this morning. Look, it's been a dramatic week of I guess, changes, position changes, even by your standards. On Wednesday, you praised the health care mandate. By Friday, you said to abolish it. On Saturday, you said Planned Parenthood did wonderful things. On Thursday, you said you defund it. Similarly, at the debate, you called George W. Bush a liar. You sort of backtrack on that later in the week. It comes across, are you taking positions that you believe, and or are you sort of, as things get heated, are you switching at the last minute? What are we to make of all this week?
On the mandate, if you look at the mandate, we had a situation where we were Anderson Cooper, who's terrific, by the way, and did a terrific job, but we were talking over each other. Look, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Obamacare is a total and complete disaster. It's going to be gone. We're going to come up with a great health care plan, whether it's health care savings accounts, with a lot of different things. We're going to get rid of the lines between states. We're going to have great competitive bidding. But I say all the time, you can call it anything you want. People are not going to die in the middle of the street. Right. People are not going to die on the sidewalk if I'm president.
Well, let me get something definitive from you on this.
Chuck, I say that, right. Excuse me, I say that to packed houses with thousands and thousands of people, Republicans mostly, and I get standing ovations. I'm not going to let that happen. If I'm president, we're not going to have people dying on the streets. So you can call it whatever you want.
No, I understand
don't call it a mandate.
Well, let me ask you this.
I just say it's common sense.
Do you think that it should be a law that anybody who can afford health insurance has to have it?
I think no. I think it's going to be up to them, okay? I want it to be up to them. But I'm really talking about people that can't afford it. We're not going to let people die in squalor because we are Republicans, okay? That's part of the problem with the Republicans, where somehow they got fed into this horrible position. We're going to take care of people. But no, people don't have to have it. We're going to have great plans. They're going to be a lot less expensive than Obamacare. They're going to be private. They're going to be lots of different options. We're going to have a lot of different options. Right now, you have no options. You know why? Because the insurance company controlled Obama because they gave him a lot of money. That's why you have lines around the states and that you can't get competitive bidding.
Now let's move to Planned Parenthood. You defended the other work Planned Parenthood does, and now you said you defunded. Now the government will say, Democrats will say the money they give to Planned Parenthood does not go to abortions, that the money they give to Planned Parenthood only goes to other women's health issues, including mammograms and things like that. If you knew the government money were only going to that, would you support funding Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, if it didn't have to do with abortions. Look, I understand it. I have many, many friends who are women who understand Planned Parenthood better than you or I will ever understand it. And they do some very good work. Cervical cancer, lots of women's health issues are taken care of. I know one of the candidates, I won't mention names, said, we're not going to spend that kind of money on women's health issues. I am. Planned Parenthood does a really good job in a lot of different areas, but not on abortion. So I'm not going to fund it if it's doing the abortion. I am not going to fund it. Now, they say it's 3% and it's 4%. Some people say it's 60%. I don't believe it's 60%, by the way, but I think it's probably a much lower number. But Planned Parenthood does some very good work, but I would defund as long as they're doing abortions.
All right, let me move to the issue of Iraq. Obviously, a couple clips came out. Let me play you the Howard Stern clip in 2002.
Okay. Sure.
We have an idea who the enemy is, and a lot of times the politicians don't want to tell you that.
So you for invading Iraq?
Yeah, I guess so. I wish it was. I wish the first time it was done correctly.
Now, clearly, you didn't sound like an enthusiastic supporter of the war, but I am curious of the second part of that quote. The first time I wish the first time it was done correctly. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is it almost shouldn't have been done, and, I really don't even know what I mean, because that was a long time ago, and who knows what was in my head. I think that it wasn't done correctly. In retrospect, it shouldn't have been done at all. It was sort of, it was just done. It was just we dropped bombs. Now, if you look back, actually, that was probably the correct way of doing it, not going in and not upsetting, giving them a lesson and not. I mean, I think Senior actually did a pretty good job of what he was doing. He went in, he taught him a lesson. What happened is he was taunted because Saddam Hussein was saying, we drove back the Americans, the ugly Americans were driven back, the power of Iraq, the power. Well, we didn't were driven back. He just decided not. General Schwarzkopf and others said, maybe let's not go in. I'm not sure, although I think Schwarzkopf actually maybe wanted to go in. I think he maybe did the right thing. I can say this. If you look at my conversation with Howard, who's a friend of mine, who's actually a very good person and a good guy, different from what you see on the radio, okay, I won't tell you. But if you look at my conversation, that was probably the first time. Don't forget, I was in business. I was a businessman. I was a real estate man and a businessman. That was the first time I think that question was ever even asked of me. That was long before the war took place. That was, you know, many, many months before the war took place. And you could see by my answer, I wasn't exactly thrilled. Joe Scarborough just released something yesterday, more on point, much nearer, and he put out a tweet saying that, you know, Trump is right. Look what he just said. So you have to take a look at that. But regardless, the war in Iraq was a disaster. It was probably the worst thing. If you look at the Middle East now, all started because of that horrible decision to go into Iraq. And you know what we end up with? Nothing. We spent $2 trillion. We have thousands and thousands of lives killed, just thousands, carnage. And we have wounded warriors who I love all over the place, right? And we have nothing. And Iran is now taking over Iraq. They've been trying to for many, many decades, and now they're finally taking over Iraq. As we sit here, they're taking over Iraq. We get nothing.
Let me give you one more issue where you sort of went counter to what is perceived as Republican orthodoxy, and that is on the issue of Israel and the Palestinians. You said Wednesday you wanted to be neutral in that dispute. Explain what neutral means, because some heard that in the pro-Israeli community and thinks, oh, he's going to be anti-Israel. Explain what you mean by neutral.
They want me, look, no, I'm very pro-Israel. In fact, I was the head of the Israeli Day Parade a number of years ago. I did a commercial for Netanyahu when he was getting elected. He asked me to do a commercial for him. I did a commercial for him. I am. But I don't want to be, look, the hardest thing to do is that in terms of deal, if you're a deal person, right, the ultimate deal is that deal. Israel, Palestine, if you're going to make it, that probably is the hardest deal there is to make. People are born with hatred. They're taught hatred. And I have to say, it's mostly on the one side, not on the other side. But they're taught hatred. I say this. If I'm going to be president, I'd rather be in a position, because I will try the best I can, and I'm a very good deal maker, believe me, to try and solve that puzzle. You're not going to solve it if you're going to be on one side or another. Everyone understands that. If I'm going to solve the problem, I want to go in with a clean slate. Otherwise, you're never going to get the cooperation of the other side. So that's all I'm saying.
Donald Trump, I'm going to leave it there. Again, congratulations on your big win. Stay safe on the trail. We'll be watching on Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
You got it. All right, I'm joined now